Restaurant Unstoppable, inspire, empower, and transform the industry.
So it was my first closing responsibly. So I had to learn a lot. I had a few friends in real estate. And so I chatted with them about, like, what are my options here? Because on my new location, I had not even paid a month of rent. I was still in the free rent period, followed by a 5-year lease. So, I was like, am I in big trouble, or like, what does this mean? And what everyone in the real estate industry told me was, what you could really do is give your landlords a big finger and just walk away, because they're in a tight spot too. And there's nothing that they can do about it.
The pandemic was almost a blessing in disguise for a lot of people, because there were a lot of people in your shoes who were like, I'm profitable, I'm doing the work, but I'm not happy. And now the pandemic is not, I'm not fucking up. The pandemic screwed me. It's not my fault. I'm not failing. This is my opportunity to get out and to be able to point my finger at, the pandemic is the reason why I closed. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I don't think people talk about that. They're like, they say all these closures. I'm like,
yeah,
I
agree. I think
look at this as a blessing in disguise.
There were definitely, I don't know for sure, but I would have to say there were probably a lot of people who viewed this as an opportunity, and myself included. And yes, the pandemic technically was part of it, but to me, I hate to call the pandemic a blessing. It's touchy, but for me personally, it just all became very clear, and I was like, this is my moment. Like, if I hold on any longer than right now, then I'm going to be stuck with it, and this is a great opportunity to just drop everything.
And I should point out, yes, there are a lot of people who want this industry, who do love this industry, who had no plans of ever leaving the industry, who were forced out because of
there are a lot of sad stories to go on.
I do want to recognize those people, and I don't mean to sound insensitive, but
a lot of people lost a lot, and I lost a lot too, but I guess it didn't feel so bad because it was my choice. But yeah, I didn't want to really give my landlord's finger and walk away, because I had good relationships with both of them, and they're struggling too. It's all like one big struggle together. So we negotiated on amounts that felt good to both of us, which felt fair. And the rest of the stuff was a lot easier to untangle, because I didn't have any debt with the business. And everything else was just kind of like cancel subscription to that, cancel subscription to that. The hardest part was definitely just the employees. And there was no way for me to possibly ever explain to them how difficult this was for me and how difficult I knew it was for them. I did my best. But yeah, so I just made sure that everyone, once the business was closed, I made sure everyone was able to get on unemployment. If they needed help filing, I helped them with that. And, to be honest, I think a lot of the employees viewed it as a little blessing too. Again, I know that there were a lot of rough times for everybody, but the silver lining for them was that they now get to sort of have this time off, and that's another thing that is sort of a touchy subject to talk about, because politically it's a bit charged, but I think a lot of people were able to find a way to benefit from this just sort of pause. I
would say that humanity in general, especially Western humanity, with the culture of go, work. We're blind to it because it's all we know, but relative to different cultures, like, we work so much, like, for what,
exactly.
We're blind to it. So I think that, there are silver linings to the pandemic. It's devastating, but there are absolutely silver linings. And this is one of them. It forced everybody to go, and we
sit down, take a deep breath,
and to be around like our loved ones, to be forced around our loved ones, to isolate and to quarantine with our loved ones, and to, breathe and to reflect and to dream new dreams and to say, what do I really want to do next? Employees and owners.
Actually, I watched, it's been really cool to watch our employees, because, everyone didn't just scramble and like go get a new restaurant job. A lot of them chose to like take completely different paths, or like go to school and, or have babies. I think this pause was awesome. And, for me and for the employees, it gave us some time to just not worry about money and just think about, like, what are we doing here?
So I think I might've missed it. And if you did touch on this, you said, like, how do close responsibly. You didn't just give your landlords a finger. What are the things like the tech, like if somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, I'm thinking about closing, I'm resonating with Krimsey's words. What did you learn from this experience that you learned the hard way that you could prevent somebody else from making the same mistake or not being blindsided by something?
Yeah. Well, this is another thing Bo touches on in the book, but just being like, I don't know what the appropriate level of transparency is for communicating with your employees. I feel like I took some sort of middle ground, like, hey, everyone, I need some time to think. I'm not sure what I want to do. And there's sort of like some read between the lines stuff there, right? And then when I decided that it's what I wanted, I was very clear about that. But then I sort of confused them all by being like, wait a minute, who wants to come back to work? So it's like, whoa, I can imagine how chaotic that probably was for everyone. So I would say that just be very diligent about your communications with everyone, but especially your employees. And
what is diligent communication?
Meaning like what I mean by that is just think carefully about what you're saying and why you're saying it. I think that in general, I tend to be like super transparent. And in this case, there were areas where I held back because I felt like I should. And then other areas where I overshared. And in hindsight, I wish that I had a better plan before I just dumped it on my employees.
Yeah. And it's kind of like most people listening to this, not everyone listening to this has closed a restaurant, but I think most people listening to this have been in a relationship.
Yeah.
Where one day you're like, I'm over this person. This is done. I don't ever want to go back to it. Then a day goes by and you're like, but I still love them.
Right.
And it's like, it's kind of like that. And like, you want it back, and it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. Like, you're going to have days where you're like, no, this isn't where I'm not compatible with the restaurant industry. It's not right. But then you're like, but my customers and the things I do love. And like it's going to take time for you to like find an equilibrium, a place where you really do truly land. But until then, it's going to be high peaks and valleys until it like
for sure. And, one thing I am glad I did is that I kept all communications completely open to everybody. It wasn't like, I'm only telling the leads and then, of course, information gets trickled down to everyone. It felt good to do it in that way, that we were all kind of a group understanding what was happening together.
Yeah. And just like in a relationship, you don't want to tell your partner when you're having a bad day, this is over,
Yeah.
I never want to talk to you again. And then the next day you're like, I was just having a bad day. Like, will you come back to me?
Yeah.
It's just like that. It's people, it's emotions, it's feelings, it's planning. This is my life. Like, if you're not in my life, then I need to think about what's next. I need to think about my next job or my next partner,
right.
So it's a really good analogy.
Yeah, I think it'd be tempting to hold on to that information too, because you don't want people to start going like, oh, well, what's my next thing? But I truly think that it's better to tell everyone and just sort of deal with what happens after, because if you've done a good job with your team and it truly is a place where people feel cared for, they're not going to jump ship as fast as you think they are. In fact, there are people at the end just like employees really wanting to help me with everything. They surprised me with how much they cared about me and the business.